Hello and welcome
Hello.
to My Hair is a Mess. I just took off my headphones. I was having horrible audio issues. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. I was had my headphones on, was checking them off. I was covering up some bad hair situation. It's not improved. How's that?
I liked it
Sexy.
before. The comb over was better.
Shut
Nah,
up
that's
about my
good.
comb over.
That's-
It's not a comb over, it's my styles. My styles,
No,
bitch.
I didn't mean it like that, but that looks good. That looks good, CK.
I'm trying.
You look sexy, honey. I've got a
Yeah,
bad
okay.
lighting situation and a bad hair situation. We can't all be Max.
I know,
No,
exactly.
I've got the lighting.
Goose.
I feel like we've all got a little bit of something going on. I've got the light here, but maybe it's just for my bright ideas tonight. Who knows? Maybe it's just like a
You're
ding.
right. It's like the Jesus there, like with the light above
Yeah.
you, with your, and you're looking like the Jesus with your anointation. That's not a word. Anointation. And what is the word?
Moving on.
The anointing of your picks as they
That's
are
it.
rocketing home into this final week. I have to say, and I don't know about the two of you, but I feel like, as a general sense, there was a lot of strategy and talk this week just to eliminate Tejan and Felix.
Especially when Tajan was a miscommunication. You know, it was like a lot of very long strategic conversations that ultimately didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like only losing two people this week has been a little bit of a drag. Like, they were good episodes, but it wasn't incredibly fulfilling. The only way it
Is
could
that
be
all we
less.
lost? Did we have two non-elimination episodes?
Yeah,
Yeah, the first one and the third one.
the only way it could have been less fulfilling was if Kalani had gone at the end of the week.
That would have been ideal. That would have been hilarious.
Tajan and Kalani go.
Excuse you, CK. Kalani has been running this game since episode 1. Felix is disgusting and a misogynist for having stolen her moves. And everybody who's out there giving Dino and Marion props and not Kalani needs to have a long, hard look in the mirror.
Absolutely. Like, who are perhaps it's only the edit that is making us feel like these were not Kalani's moves.
I was watching sitting through one of the non-elims. I think the one where Dino got his advantage and his fabulous holiday. And I was thinking, we see all of this edit around, Dino being this genius who predicted this was going to happen in a confessional shot after it happening. And I thought, you know what, instead of having all of these non-elimination episodes, why don't we just run the season twice? But the second time round, it's Kalani's edit. And we can see all of these missing scenes where Kalani's running the game and we can see things as Kalani is currently seeing them in the game.
Yeah, it's that different perspective concept that fills in all the missing information, makes you see the film or the show in a completely different light because of these events that you did not know transpired. I think absolutely. The only thing that would be, I think, more exciting than that is the Shane perspective edit. And
yeah, I agree.
Shane.
That would genuinely, bringing up that idea, Annabelle, that would be pretty sick, having the same season, watching it once, and then a completely different edit.
Yeah.
Would you be into that? Like, if like one day they decide to just play the season, you know who wins, you know all the eliminations, you know who wins the challenges, but then completely flip the edit onto someone else's perspective. Would that sell?
Honey, I just love it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, would that?
Only with the superest of super fans, let's be real. But I think for those people, they would get a real kick out of it. I think it would be very enjoyable. I think it would be really viable in a season with like a returnee character that everyone really likes, but then doesn't like go as well as you'd hope. And then they could just follow them around. Like, to be honest, I could thoroughly get into a package purely on Dante and his experience through the game, followed by his experience at Ponderosa. Like, he's just an angry man, and we can see how angry he is about the fact that the men have gotten through to the end and not the women, like he was looking to achieve. With the throat cutting thing at the end of the final tribal. Very aggressive from the jury.
I was going to bring that up maybe a little bit later, but how did the producers get that through? Like, I feel like as Dante being on the jury, he can't influence the game like that. I just feel like it's just, if I was one of the, like, let's say if I was Dino looking back at that footage and seeing that, I would be pretty disappointed.
Well, he's basically telling, from what I gathered, he was telling Shane, Kalani, and Marion that they need to remove Phil and Dino. That's what he's telling.
Dino first. And Dino first, specifically.
Like,
which
crazy.
is outrageous. The jury should definitely not be allowed to do that. And don't get me wrong, we love a little bit of salty Dante over here. And I mean, actually just circling back very quickly to what you said before, CK, I know Dante liked to refer to himself as the Messiah, which was this edit 1. But I feel like in edit 2, we really get to see Shane come into his own as the second coming of Christ. But
he's certainly dressing like it.
He's dressing like it. He's talking like he's Mr. Charisma out there in the Shane edit. Let me tell you.
With these robes and togas that he's wearing to Tribal Council, he's channeling. David Jeanette did a lot of that stuff, didn't he? And I think you've seen maybe one American, Tyson likes to wear bizarre stuff to Tribal Council. So I think he's channeling those people. His ego certainly is channeling the ego of those two people, but he's not really on their level, let's be honest. He's not Tyson or David Jeanette.
Have I ever lied to you, CK? Have I ever lied to you?
No.
No. Now do exactly as I say.
That's it, and his social game is off the charts, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. He is, as I said, Mr. Charisma.
Is he one of these goats that doesn't know he's a goat that's being brought to the end? Because this whole week was this whole discussion about the goats and the goats that don't know they're goats, obviously referencing Kalani from the edit, but is Shane also one of these people?
You know what? Yeah. I don't know that they're real. I mean, okay, Kalani definitely can't win if she gets to the end. And I do think other people in the game are viewing her as a goat. But she clearly, I mean, she had a good read on a lot of some things. And, you know, she did, even if she didn't have the relationships to pull moves off, she pulled out some ideas and had similar thoughts to some of the people who did have those relationships. I don't know, you know, in the way that I'm thinking about when Nicole and Ella went to the end and Smash went to the end, and, you know, the goat apocalypse. I don't feel like this season really is it. And you know what? Do I think Shane beats anyone except for Kalani? Probably not. But I think even Kalani would have beat Nicole or an Ella.
Yeah. And I do feel that Shane could possibly beat Marion. He doesn't deserve to, but she might get a bit more hate from the jury, and he could possibly get over her as well. Also, being a man and on South African Survivor, that just gives you a couple of votes right away. Like, is Dante, feminist number 1, going to vote for a woman, or will he just revert to voting for a man?
He's white as well.
Yeah.
The only time a woman did win was when a black man was sitting there. So Shane's the double whammy.
Yeah. So I do feel that Shane would have a good chance against Marion, but not probably against Dino or Phil. The edit's very strong on the Dino-Phil situation. Really, as much as this week didn't resolve in much, I feel like Dino took his game to a new level this week. I flagged it on the promo for our episode here that there'll be a lot of fawning over Dino, and that's without talking to the two of you, because I think we would all be in the same boat that he's playing an incredibly good game. And this week was really topping it off. What did you really like from what you saw from Dino this week?
His adaptability, I think, just the way where he feels like he's in a tough position where, yes, the No BS Alliance might be dispatched, and just his ability to, I guess, keep his options open and try and get himself further into the game as he can.
Yeah, and you know what? Even where he had the wrong reads, he still had very fair reads. So, I mean, neither Phil nor Felix had a grasp on what was really happening in the game at all. Whereas Dino was correct about pretty much everything except for how Phil was seeing things. And I saw a really great tweet by shenanigans about how, everything Dino was saying about what Phil was doing was completely fair and reasonable. Yes, it's completely shady that he's not revealing that he got this clue until the next day after everybody else already knows. Yes, he is acting super sus, and he saved Felix the first time round, so of course he would save him the second time round. The reality was Phil was just being a bit of a messy bitch. Yes. So I think, I mean, we stan Phil, and I still think he's probably going to win this season. But I think even where Dino was wrong, he was kind of right.
Yeah, look, Dino's an astute player, and he knows where he's sitting, and he knows it makes sense for Phil to turn on him at this point. In fact, I think Phil should have been looking to turn on him at this point. So I think that also played into a lot of Dino's thought process, because that's what he thinks Phil should do. I thought the really good moments of Dino, let's be clear here, at the final 6, he's effectively pulled off the mythical 3-2-1 that everyone dreams of creating, except it was a 3-3-1 because he had an extra vote. So it's even better. But it was a 3-2-1, which is the ideal strategic move at a final 6. And if you can pull it off while controlling basically what everyone's votes are doing to go the wrong way so that you get the outcome you want, as well as getting an idol played on him. And I thought that his really top move, subtle but perfect at Tribal, where Marianne starts talking about her fake idol nullifier and how she's going to play it on the person on whom the idol would be played on in that thing. He turns to Phil and is like, "Am I in trouble?" Like, it was perfect. Like, it's the absolute right reaction to something he knew was already going to happen, and Phil bought it hook, line, and sinker.
He was fantastic. Are we doing our predictions at this point? Because I feel like you've started, CK.
Sure. I would look. I think it's Dino all the way. I think it's possibly Phil, but I'd really, really love it to be Dino. And I think he could be the robbed god at third place, but I would really like to see him take it. That's who I'm predicting to win.
I want us to bring up Matt's comment now in the chat, because I want to address this. I think this goes into my prediction. So Matt doesn't see where I'm coming from when I say that there's been negativity in the exit interviews. There's not been pile-on hate. For me, it's the little comments. It's the, Marianne is married, Tony's kind of, Marianne just had it out for me from the beginning, and she was unreasonable in that, she was emotional about it. So the way Steffi was saying, Marianne is difficult to work with. Marianne wants it her way, I much preferred working with Meryl. So no, I agree. No one is hating on her and that she's a goat. I just feel like there were a lot of little throwaway comments. What I also thought was interesting was this week on Twitter, Marianne has made some retweets about bitter juries and how anyone who wouldn't vote for Marianne in a final situation would be a bitter juror. And I want to call it now. I think Marianne comes in second. I think she sits next to the winner, and she's really salty she didn't get the win. And I don't think that she would be super salty about losing out to Dino. So I also want to make the call that I don't think Dino wins, because I think that she wouldn't be calling bitter jury. I think Dino must be the fallen angel, and I think that she sits next to Phil.
Why would she be bitter at Phil winning? Like, I know she has a heart for Dino, but I do believe what she says when she just wants there to be a good winner of the season and someone who cares about, Survivor and good Survivor gameplay. And Phil's a deserving winner. Like, why would she be as bitter about Phil?
Because I think Marion sees herself and Dino as the only worthy winners. And everyone has been calling out Dino as a huge threat from the beginning. No one's ever called Phil a threat. In fact, Phil has never had his name written down once. No one is gunning for Phil. I think everyone thinks Phil's a little bit of a goofball. When you listen to the exit interviews, it's all about how Phil's a little bit too funny around camp. Phil was a pre-merge boot on her season. So there's probably a little bit of, bitch, I beat you the first time round. I'm better than you. I think that she quite fairly sees herself as one of the best game players this season, and that she absolutely deserves to win this season up there with some of the best players. And I think the subtlety of Phil's game compared to Dino it is going to be lost on people who are in the game and not seeing it from our point of view.
Mel feels like a Marion Phil Dino final three will be lit. I think that is going to be the final three, and I do think you're making very good points about what the likely position is, and it would align with the edit. How do you think she would feel losing to Shane? Like, because they have a relationship, but he's a bit goat-like.
She's not going to lose to Shane. I mean, this is the thing. Right? We've got to look. Who could Marion lose to? She can't lose to Shane. I am obsessed with Shane. He's gold. He kind of gives me Randy vibes in a weird way.
Yeah, he's definitely
maybe it's just the dickhead old guy.
Yeah, no, he's got it.
Shane is toxic, and I'm obsessed with him. But there's absolutely no way this season of Returning Players is giving a spite win to Shane over Marion. They're just not. Even though I think they are probably mad at her for being vulnerable and leaning on them and then stabbing them in the back, they're not giving it to Shane.
So who do you think, Max, will be in the final two?
Well, I actually just wrote down what I think the top five will be. Same mindset as... But as in like
we're down to the final five. Oh, you're saying the positioning.
Like, as in like in the next.
I knew what he meant, but I was going to go with
no, as in like I was putting all my eggs in the basket and saying this is how the season's going to finish up coming from now.
Yeah, tune in for another Max warm take. He knows the final five.
Well, all right. If you want to hear it, here it is.
Yeah.
No, following Annabelle, what you said about the final, I think the final three will be Dino, Marion, and Phil. But instead of Phil winning, I think it'll be Dino. And the runner-up, Marion, purely based off that whole chat between Marion and Dino when they're on the beach talking about that advantage going to the outpost. I just feel like there's something in that where Dino is the winner. I just feel like it was a bit of foreshadowing. Who knows? The editing of South Africa may have changed, may have been a bit of influence with how they watch the Australian seasons, the US seasons, whatever. Could be different. Could be a different person doing it. Who knows? But my top five, I feel like Kalani will be the next boot, followed by Shane at fourth. Phil will be the fallen god at third, and will lose out to Dino in the final immunity challenge. I reckon it'll be an endurance one where they have to hold on to the pole. One of the classic Australian Survival final three, the way, like whether it's that one where they have to stand with it, hold on to a pole, whatever.
Yeah, the classic.
Marion,
we saw them steal another challenge in this series. The one with the ropes and catching the ball. That was in Australian Survivor.
Marion second. And Dino first, and I reckon Dino will win by 2 votes.
Okay,
a plus of 2 votes.
There's a lot of information there.
Yeah.
2 votes.
Very
I think,
specific.
This is being filmed in Samoa, right? Is that where Australian Survivor used to film on the beach? I think they may. Maybe they're just using Australian Survivors like props for challenges. Like, we've got all this stuff here. Let's just use it and roll it out.
Mel called it.
Mel's on the ball.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. I think they're just there, and Australian Survivor hasn't been back there for a couple of years because now they feel it's filming in rural Australia. So they just called up South Africa and was like, "Hey, do you want to buy all our challenges? We've got good challenges. Our gameplay is horrible, and our cast is ridiculously bad, but we have top-notch challenges."
I'm sure. Why wouldn't they do that?
I think that's what they do.
I mean, responding to what Max said, I was thinking about, how does Kalani go next? But surely Marion and Dino have had the conversation before about not wanting to have spots at the end taken up by people who can't win. Phil obviously really wants to take Kalani to the end. But I do think that there's no way Dino and Marion can get further than 4th and 3rd if both Shane and Kalani are still in at 4. Because to have both of them there, if one of them goes at 5, it's just too easy to take the next one out. So I can see Kalani going next, Max, because I think it would be easier for Marion to give that up than her partner in Shane. I think there's no way Kalani goes at all unless both Dino and Marion insist that it has to be Kalani, because Phil's not going to lead that charge. And I mean, no one knows what Shane's going to do ever, so I'm not going to make any calls about what he's up to. Oh, sorry, yes. Back to props, please.
I'm just bringing it up. I think we've cracked the case there. So well done, everyone. Well done, yes, here and Mel. We've cracked the case on what's going on, why these challenges. We've been talking about this all season. They were ripping off so many Australian Survivor challenges, and I think we know they just bought their props. And why not? It's environmentally conscious to reuse things. Recycle.
I admire that. Yeah.
I agree with you. For Phil and Dino, it would be crazy to not keep each other around the final 4. I know Dino's saying, Phil's saying, well, they both, I think, pretty much said the other one has to go next, but that's the wrong play, because then the next one just goes at 3, and Shane and Kalani and Marion will just roll their way to the end, right? So we don't think that's what's happening based on the information we have. But if this was happening right now, that's not the smart thing to do. The smart thing is to keep the other threatening players around when you're a threatening player, not to get rid of the GOAT. To get rid of the GOAT, sorry, for that purpose. So I think
at the point you've got to final 5 and there's still that many of you around, I do think that it's too, roll of the dice. Are either Dino or Marion 100% certain that Kalani would side with them? Does Dino know that Kalani thinks that Dino and Kalani have been day one Alliance members and she's Dino's real number 1 in the game?
Yeah. I don't. Phil seems very convinced that Marion is his secret number 1, but that was at the start of the week. I wonder if he still feels that way, because things have been afoot that he hasn't been on top of, and that clearly other people are making arrangements for. So if he still thinks that, he's a bit delusional.
Though now I'm second guessing myself, and I'm thinking about everyone in the exit interviews fighting over who's Dino's number 1. I remember Shona saying, no, ask Dino in his exit press, I was his number 1. Everyone from the pre-merge tribe insists. And now I'm like, maybe Dino does win. But surely, we love Marion. Marion, please win so that I win the draft. She's had her crybaby wee wee pants moments, and maybe she would be salty about losing to Dino. Maybe she would.
Maybe she thinks, frankly, without her, Dino would not have made his way through this end game, and that is the truth. Without her alliance, there's no way he gets through this and where he's got to. He's played his own game, and it's a great game, but it's the pair of them that have actually been running the show, and maybe he gets all the credit when really it's a 50-50 situation.
And he does have Dante on that jury, who from day dot has been gunning for him. And you never know, Dante could be that sort of player who stands up and in front of everyone and says, look, I tried getting Dino out from the start. you didn't listen, and now he's getting my vote.
Yeah,
And that could
Dante would
sway
be
a lot of the
absolutely
jury.
something. I think it'd be absolutely
I
something to do.
Dante is such a powerful voice for the women, though. I just can't see a scenario in which there's a woman in the final two and Dante doesn't vote for her. I mean, he just respects the threat that women pose in the game so much. It would be shocking.
Our Dante pro-feminist narrative has been, I think, a really strong thread of our entire programming that I think all of our viewers have enjoyed, though some were confused from time to time about whether we were being legitimate or not. I have to
I'm
say,
still confused. No.
I was really pleased that we got an idol and another advantage this week. There just hasn't been enough advantages and idols in this season. Like, I know they had to buy the Australian Survivor props, but did they need to buy all the advantages too? Because it's been out of control.
They just chucked them in for free. That was just part of the deal.
And I like it's gotten to the point now where, like, Dino came back with a fairly believable story as to what happened at the outpost. He said he got a video from home. He said he got some food, and he said he got some sort of advantage, wasn't it? Like,
you got to practice the challenge.
Yeah.
Right. So they were all pretty actually viable excuses, and no one believes it because they're like, there's so many advantages in this game. Like, why would I believe they wouldn't give you something? And then, of course, Phil's like, well, are you going to tell me what the challenge is? That was the problem with that lie. And he's like, no, I'm not going to tell it to you. And that just seems like a really dick move.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did do the whole, I would tell you, but I'm just so threatened by your challenge prowess, Phil. And Phil was like, oh, yeah, you're right. But I mean, and he's probably not going to think twice about it. But the reality is, what part of that challenge could you practice? They wouldn't set up the whole ropes and catching, so you'd do the puzzle. But Dino didn't win the puzzle. If Dino had had half an hour to practice that puzzle, you better believe that Dino won that puzzle. No brainer.
Yeah, particularly that puzzle. You know, it was actually slightly modified from the one that Evie destroyed very quickly, because it had the two balls separately, which they were catching, which the puzzle they've done on American Survivor didn't. But it's the sort of puzzle that we've seen that if you know how to do it, you can do it in 5 seconds once you've figured out the trick. So you're absolutely right. Phil should have been very suspicious.
No, but what Phil was missing was that Dino actually got to practice digging under that log. I didn't really account for much, but
of her finding a cover from writing the nullifier and the rest. Yeah, look, let's be honest. With the amount of idols in this game, it's completely believable to be a nullifier, and she and Marion absolutely sold that so well. I think everyone was convinced that there was a she had an idol nullifier, and the story behind it, how she found it, just nailed it.
Yeah.
I agree that it was an incredible lie and that she pulled off that move so well. But I think that we're going to see at Final Tribal Council that there's a lot of resentment towards Marion for having, I guess in the same way that people are quite nasty to mothers sometimes, that she played this game where she asked for a lot of emotional comfort and solace from others. And then in that move, she was essentially saying to both Steffi and also Meryl, who, if you remember, spent that entire afternoon comforting her while she cried for not having got anything and been so selfless. Ha, 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 I had been tricking you yet again. And I think they probably already resent her for that. They already resent her for having spent the entire game comforting her only to be backstabbed by her. And I do think that the fake idol nullifier in the rice, regardless of whether or not they now know the nullifier was fake, this is just the little sprinkling, the cherry on top of a pile of resentment, an ice cream of resentment.
Well, you're absolutely right, because it still remains the fact in Australian Survivor and South African Survivor that women making moves and lying so straightforwardly and comfortably isn't well received by men and even other women within the game. Whereas America, I feel, has finally gotten to a point where perhaps it's a factor of the diversity casting initiative in the last 2 seasons, that women can make more moves, can be more deceptive. I think Marianne is a great example of someone who really surprised everyone with her gameplay and all the moves she had going on and was deceptive. And they were like, yeah, great. We stand you. We'll give you the votes. And also Erica, more subtle, but there's been a swing there, probably with the casts. And I feel here you're still going to have that where women shouldn't be doing anything remotely gamey, that's lying, deceptive, whatever, because that's a bad thing. It's obviously not, but that's the perception within some of these games. Mel thinks that you are absolutely destroyed, and you did.
And I agree as well. Going on with that, Annabelle, would you think that it would be the women like Steffi and Meryl who will come for marrying the hardest in that particular situation, or potentially at final
really
tribal
do.
council?
I do. I mean, I think that the men, I mean, they weren't going to be doing any of the emotional labor anyway. And you can already see in Dante that he's already having a bias towards recognizing the big moves that the men are making. So I don't think that they're going to resent her in the same way. I think they just aren't going to recognize the amazing things that she's done. I mean, while he wasn't sort of asking for as much comfort, how many times did Dino cry and put on the puppy dog eyes so that people felt too sorry for him to vote him out? That was a Dino move as well. No one's going to call him, Dante recognized that as a legitimate move.
Yeah.
But I do think that Marion leaned really heavily on the women to emotionally support her through the pre-merge and the merge as well. And I do think that they're going to feel like she backflipped on the women, rightly or wrongly, whether they feel that way, and has really ended up here with all men at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Circling back now, circling back to the
my pick, Kalani, the person who could bring home the glory for me.
Yes, Kalani could still do it. Yeah.
Look, Annabelle could probably comment much better on this than me, but from what I understand, my understanding as a man without the real perspective of living through it, it's a common thing I understand from what women tell me, that sometimes women can be other women's harshest critics, and unfairly, and it's all about that women call for women to support one another better, and that's what we should be calling for here. Like, Meryl should be respecting Marion's game the way and Steffi should be, and as should is that all we got? Are there other women on the jury?
Tony, Meryl, Steffi.
Tony and Meryl are massive game players, so they should respect the game. But you're right, I think they're going to put a personal grudge over above it.
But Marion made it personal as well, in fairness, especially with Tony. Tony was mates with her ex-boyfriend, and that was pretty personal from the beginning. I remember it was I think it came out in the early 20s in the seasons for USA. So maybe it's changed since then, but someone did a really interesting statistical analysis on jury votes, and they found that men almost always voted for a man if he was on the jury, and women split it 50-50 or thereabouts. So I feel like, I agree. I definitely think,
we just had someone pop in here, Aston. I don't think we've had Aston comment before.
Hello, Aston. Great to have you.
He's missed a bit of what we said. So just cliff notes. Why don't they respect Marion's game, Annabelle?
I'm not saying they won't respect it. I think that they will be resentful of the fact that that she required quite a bit of emotional support from them and then ended up flipping on them. That's certainly in the case of Meryl. Again, who knows with Steffi? I'm really just going off her sentiments in her exit interview that Marion was quite difficult to work with as an alliance partner. I mean, I'm certain Tony won't have a bar of her. And I think that if she's sitting next to Dino or Phil, who I think are the only people she could lose to, I think there's such a groundswell of support already from the jury in terms of Dino being, the person to beat this season. And I think that kind of simmering, perhaps resentment of Marion and making things a little bit personal could see things swing in the favor of Phil. That, and she's been tweeting or retweeting tweets about there being a bitter jury. And I just feel like she's probably not doing that if she wins this season. So it's purely conjecture, Aston. We're just trying to pull content out of Not a Fat Lot over here. But that's my theory. That's my theory on why my girl Marion doesn't win this season.
Good theory. I agree. Well, while we're here, and look, this may be the last one of these we do. I'm not sure if this season's going to roll around till next Monday, or if we're going to have like another 4 non-eliminations this week, and we'll be back here still in a week. So I'm really unsure when it's going to end. I know people at home probably don't care about this, but the belt is on the line with this season, and frankly, that's why we're here. And I just want to talk about what this group will be looking at in terms of who winning the belt. Now, you don't know all the history of our points. I'm just trying to get in my head who we picked before. You get an idea of our picks before. Mac, we've gone 3 seasons. Who will know our complication games? I can tell you offline. Slide into my DMs. No one needs to hear it. But we do 3 seasons. Max on Australian Survivor had the obvious winner, Mark. And then Annabelle had Chrissy and I had Shay. So that's 3 points for Max, 2 for Annabelle, 1 for myself. In American Survivor, I believe you had Marianne, Annabelle. So it's 3 points for you. And then Max had Romeo. And did you also have Mike, Annabelle?
I also had Mike, yeah.
So you had...
I think I'm the person to beat.
You are. So you are on... I'm on 1 point. What a depressing affair this has been.
Even
I think
Max's men-only strategy couldn't beat me with my rogue picks.
So it's 7-5 going here. So it is anyone's game between the 3 of you, but Max is almost guaranteed to get 2 of those, to get a point. So it comes 5-6. So yes, the winner of this will probably decide the winner of our season. Unless Kalani wins, and that will be a depressing affair for everyone involved. Sorry, Kalani. But yeah.
No more podcasts if Kalani wins.
Survivor All-Stars Kalani's version to be released at the end of this season, I insist.
She's living her own planet where she's like the queen of the moves, just like controlling the game. It's an amazing space for her to be in. I feel like they should have played up on her delusions of grandeur a bit more in terms of she doesn't get a lot of confessionals.
Oh my god,
the confessionals would be gold.
All right, this is hilarious. All right.
Okay, this is great. This is the comment of the season in the comments.
Yeah.
Well done, man. This is top notch. The real question is whether Kalani will claim she orchestrated her own vote out 24 hours after her torch has been snuffed. Yeah, the ultimate throw. The ultimate
Buffy
through
loves
Christie.
this one. Look.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Look, Mel, I reckon she probably would just to get some TV. Who knows? That's a great comment.
I like her. I like her, and she's
I love
being,
Kalani.
she's being a bit purple than me.
Who do you think Kalani votes for in a final 2 between Dino and Marion?
Dino's her number 1. Dino's been number 1 since day 1.
Marion, Phil, or let's just different scenarios. Who does she vote for?
She might vote for Marion over Phil. I think the chocolate strawberry moment they had was very sweet. I think that's locked it down.
Oh, that was cute. Because she didn't really know why Marion was doing that, and she didn't really understand why Dino shared the chocolate strawberries with Marion as well as, that was a special thing for Kalani and Dino. Let's wrap it up. Let's do our full package.
Okay, absolutely. So the full package, for those that haven't watched this before, that was the alliance. I called them the total package by mistake for a period of time. But the full package was the now dismal, broken alliance of Steffi, Marion, and Meryl. It was worked out for Marion, really, but the other 2 long gone because they represent strength, social, and strategic, which we consider the 3 of us do. So I will give you my strategic move of the week. Max will give you the challenge move of the week, and Annabelle will give you the social move of the week. For me, the strategic move is Dino's 3-2-1, which actually is a 3-3-1 with his extra vote. Completely controlled that situation, right down to the subtle comment to Phil about how he was in trouble when Mario mentioned the idle nullifier. Just absolute great strategic play, thinking through all the avenues, using all the information he had to make the best decisions he could. He's held Phil out in front of him as a strategic shield. He needs probably to hold him for one more vote and then get rid of him and take the game from there. So I just think Dino's been the strategic player of this week and pulling off a mythical 3-2-1. Max, what was the best challenge moment for you of the week?
Oh, it has to be Phil's continuous challenge beast mode. Just how he's been the unsuspecting challenge beast of the season. I honestly wouldn't have picked it. Obviously, at the start of the season when we picked our players, I wouldn't have thought that Phil, of all people, would have gone on an absolute tear and come home with a necklace more than once, and now twice in a row. So yeah, he's definitely got my votes for this week.
He's been advantaged by Dante's pro-feminist strategy because look, would he be winning against a Chappies or a PK? Like possibly not. But when Dino's his only real physical threat, I think he's in a good spot.
Well, yeah, as like the thing is, you got to be in it to win it, and he is there, and you can only do as well as the other people you're competing against. So,
but he is a strong challenge performer. He's a fireman.
Yeah.
He's going to be fit as a result, very fit as a fireman, of course. He's not too old, and he can do puzzles. He's not dumb, so he can cover all the bases.
And you'd be joking if no one prepared for the show. He would have been ready for this. He would have gone through past seasons, checked out old challenges, practice challenges, gone on runs, had a good fitness regime, all that good stuff. So definitely, and he would have even put on a bit of the dad bod, as they say, just purely for strategy in the game to stay full.
Whole strategy Max has given him that we don't even know if it's real or not.
Yeah.
But I love this whole pre-game prep that Max can reveal to us behind the scenes.
See what he says.
Even when I played our Melbourne Survivor 3 coming out later this year, cast reveals are starting to drop. Everyone check out Melbourne Survivor on Facebook or Instagram. If you do not, you'll see our lovely faces pop up at some point in the cast reveal. Probably not too soon because they are saving the best for last. But at some point, you'll see us pop up as we roll into our season. Before I went on to that,
I'll probably be coming out tomorrow.
I've seen the schedule unit coming out. I stuffed myself the day before we went out. I was not hungry at all the entire time that I played, for however long that was, because I ate so much food the day before. I absolutely snake diet the whole thing. So I was prepped. I did the prep like the same Dino did.
I would like to say that the only reason I have currently an impressive double trin is because I was also snake dieting. But look, guys, you've started doing your plugs before we even got to my bit. So I want to give the social player of the week to Dino. I think every person except for Shane at the final 6 thought that they were Dino's number one. So, I mean, that's just incredible. And the fact that even when everybody there knows that he's the player to beat, even when everybody knows he's got multiple number ones going around, everyone is happy to say, no, I know I'm really Dino's number one. So yeah, no, please, Dino, sure, go off and talk to Phil and Felix for an hour. Feel 100% comfortable with whatever you're doing there because, sweetie, it's all about you and I. And I do think that takes a special finesse. Am I accusing Dino of being a serial cheater? No. But I am saying that being a serial cheater would prepare you for this kind of deception and two-timing. So let me just throw that out there as we wrap up the podcast. Dino, did he cheat on his ex-girlfriend? I don't know. And I'm certainly not accusing him of it.
But the pieces are there to make you suspect.
But maybe he did. I don't know.
He learned the skills from somewhere.
He learned the skills from somewhere.
Yeah, well, we're not saying that he's a cheater, but you know, you've heard it here first. Wild speculation based on minimal facts.
He flipped on my girl Tony. He deserves it.
Oh, before we wrap
We're
up,
coming
you know
for
what
him.
Tony was complaining about on Twitter, that you posted that response image of Morticia Adams pouring tea.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that later.
Oh, it's not related to Survivor, what Tony was talking about?
Oh no, it's definitely related to Survivor.
Do you want to talk about it here? Okay, cool.
No.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. This may be our last episode. I don't think there's if it ends this week, I don't think there's any point that we jump on and talk about how great Dino or Phil's victory was, because we've already called what was going to happen. But if we do, maybe if there's another one like rolling in and there's another episode next week, we might do something before that. But if not, thank you everyone for joining us on this wild roller coaster that has been Return of the Outcasts. I thought it was going to go quick, you know, because it was 4 episodes a week, but it's sort of still taken a while. I didn't expect so many doubles. But it's been wonderful being here with the two of you, my two friends, as we dissected this show after I needed comfort after my boy Chappies was immediately eliminated. I made another horrible pick. And I don't think we'll have a worse 3 seasons than me, who will probably score 1 point over 3 seasons, which is Shay. Yeah, that's the best pick I got. So, you know, it's great to have my friends here while I was so mortally depressed about such poor decisions. And thank you to all of the people that have tuned in live in particular and commented with us. It's been wonderful having all your comments, especially our number 1 fan, Schneider, who's not here today. He's probably
Schneider missed our finale.
He's probably winning a race. Like Max gave him that pep up, that rev up, and he's probably out there winning a race.
It. That's why. That's what he's doing, CK,
on his virtual car. So,
and following on,
thank you, Sonata, thank you both.
CK, thank you very much. I was just thanking CK. Thank you so much for hosting. You've done an awesome job, Annabelle, as always.
Love you, Max. You brought
best
the charisma.
hot takes, and just thank you for the fun times and for everyone commenting, watching.
Maybe we could get sponsored by Schneider merch if we do this again.
Yeah,
Schneider Racing.
Schneider's gal 69.
You should change your Twitter handle to Schneider Girl 69. I think that's the ultimate testament to Schneider and to our podcast.
All right, guys, love you. Mwah.
Thank you, everybody. Love everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
And she's gone.